Okay, last video of the day. Hey friends, it's your good friend Tim Campbell-Smith, and today I am giving you my top study tips. As an A student who's done college and university, I know a thing or two about studying, and I want to pass on those tips to you. Please note there is a giant emphasis on doing it. It's wonderful and great, and I am grateful that you are watching this video for tips and ideas, but it's something you have to do. So make sure you actually implement and do the thing I'm gonna suggest. Before we go too far, make sure you like and subscribe for all things higher ed, business, mental health, photography, and life. I actually want to start with things that I want you to avoid first. This is a very short list, but there's a few study habits that people develop that are actually working against you. One is, and these actually two go hand in hand. So the first one is cramming the night before. Cramming the day before, the night before, just don't do it. Research has shown that this is at best kind of going into your short-term memory. It's not even going into your working memory or your long-term memory, so it's not really helping. And then with cramming, especially staying up late the night before, because also other large bodies of research have shown that sleep consolidates memory and helps you to remember things and memorize things. So do get a good night's sleep the night before. Don't stay up late and cram. Also, the other bad habit I want you to avoid is thinking that you can skim through the textbook and that you will recognize it, you'll be familiar with it, and that you will remember it. That is a very passive way of consuming information. So don't just think that skimming through your readings is active studying. Okay, so the first thing that I actually want you to do is to look at the course learning outcomes. Every course will have learning outcomes. That's that list of things that an instructor wants you to be able to do or demonstrate or know by the end of a course. Now, some instructors will also have learning outcomes for each module or each topic or each week. If you get those are really extra helpful, and definitely learn those too. But I actually practice by answering my module learning outcomes, my unit learning outcomes, or my course learning outcomes by answering them as if they are test questions. So for a biological psychology class, one of the course learning outcomes was be able to label the major parts of the brain and the pathways between them. So as a study question, I got a diagram of a brain and I labeled it in pathways. So that's a really good study tip, because those learning outcomes are the kind of guiding North Star that instructors use when developing their course and building their entire course. So use that. Next, learn how to take good notes. That's easy to say. Here's actually how I do my notes. I will write the high-level concept. I will then write a series of specifics to prove that. I find the social sciences, you don't need as many specifics as, you say, the natural sciences. So that's how many you do is up to you. But high-level concept, and then specifics that prove it, and then commentary on how that connects to the whole course or course learning outcomes. Next, do the reading. I know this is advice a lot of people give. I have a very specific reason why. Do the reading, and ideally before the class where it is being discussed or lectured on. It is easier to ask questions of a live human than a textbook. So if you read through the textbook or your readings, chances are some of it will be unfamiliar, some of it may be confusing, it may be odd, it may be strange, it may be weird, but you can ask for clarification when the lecturer or the instructor is teaching on it. But say you go to lecture and you're like, okay, I have some questions, but I'll read the textbook, and you go and read the textbook and the answers aren't there. Well, then you have to email them, you have to wait for their response, and what if they don't respond the right way or actually answer your questions? So do the readings before the class. Next, I want you to have fun with whatever ways of learning you like to engage with, but make learning fun. That's the actual tip here. Make learning fun. It's funny because I just saw this on TikTok a couple days ago, and it's a great illustration. I saw a talk from a doctor. So he's a physician, but then he also teaches university level sciences, I think in biology and anatomy, he said, and was doing a talk to high school students and told them for all of his learning in his undergrad and in medical school, he made a game out of mnemonics. So he was constantly making up mnemonics as a way to learn things because he thought it was like a game and it was fun and it was funny. That's where good learning happens. That's where deep learning will happen. You want to read and reread because you love reading? Knock yourself out. You want to do illustrations, which is me actually. I like to illustrate my learnings. Knock yourself out. Do whatever you find fun. Also because, hate to break it to you if this is news to you, but learning styles are BS. They're nonsense. They've been debunked time and time and time again. Humans learn via all channels. Yes, you might have a preference, but there's actually no conclusive research that your favorite way of learning and engaging in that way of learning leads to deeper learning. If learning happens through meaning making and by giving it meaning. And one of the best and easiest and fastest ways to create those, especially those neural pathways, is through joy and through fun. So make learning fun. With that, I think my next tip kind of ties into that. Try to learn in many different ways. So reading and then writing, and I'm talking pen to paper, and then watching videos, and then listening to podcasts or listening to videos. Try to interact with content in as many different formats and different ways as possible. Next, and these two tips are going to go hand in hand, but my first one is have review sessions with your instructor, your professor, or your TAs. Before and after exams, tests, and assignments. You can ask for more detailed feedback. You can find your areas of weakness. You can discuss note-taking strategies, test-taking strategies, areas of weakness, and tips. That has a lot of perks, but then the other tip that I want to give that goes hand in hand and comes with perks is actually go to their office hours. In university, I believe most universities require their profs to have office hours. Go to office hours. One, because most profs I know during their mandated office hours sit and twiddle their thumbs, and almost nobody visits. So you'll make them happy and they'll associate that happiness with you. Two, these are the people who are literally writing the course content and writing the tests, so checking in with them is probably the most helpful you're gonna get. And you may get bonus goodies. I have found a few times going to office hours and telling my prof, hey, I'm here for study help. Personally, y'all should know I'm a very nervous test taker. When I see a test, it makes me nervous. I'd rather write 1,000 papers than write a single test. When I've gone for help for tests, sometimes I've had profs who say like, okay, what you're worrying about is not even on the test. Stop struggling with that. Oh, but then they've also said, oh, you're struggling with this? That is a long answer question you're going to have to do. So here's my tips. So go to office hours. My next study tip, use AI to create study questions. What I actually like to do is I like to give it two things. I like to give it the material I'm studying, and then if I've been given any practice questions, I also give it the practice questions so it knows like the style and what it is typically being asked. And then I say, can you please create for me study questions based on this? And what I'll also do is if I can find out the format of the test, I will ask AI to mirror that. Let me go with this example. I have a test coming up. Ironically, after this, I have to study for this test. It is 50 multiple choice questions and 15 true or false. So I'm going to put in all of my study notes and I'm going to give it sample questions I've been asked and then say, can you create for me, 50 multiple choice questions, 15 true or false, and so that it's almost like I'm practicing on the test, so that the actual test I write doesn't shock or surprise me as much. My final study tip, and this is probably going to be the weirdest one, but hear me out. I want you to talk it out. Talk out what you're learning. If you can try explaining it to someone else and talking it out with someone else, that would be ideal. If not though, I think this is a personal preference, but I find talking it out even to myself is helpful. Talking it out, you will recognize, one, it's kind of this, you get this feedback loop because you're speaking it, but you're also hearing it, so you're learning it that way. You're receiving it that way. You will also find where you lack confidence, where there is uncertainty, and where you may need to clarify things. Listen, when you're speaking and talking out whatever you're learning, listen for struggles, listen for gaps, listen for uncertainty. That will point out to you what you still need to keep studying. And those are my big study tips. Now, please note, study tips, two things. One, study tips is something you have to do. Again, I'm so grateful that you're here and watching this video, but you gotta go do the thing. And two, there are a million study tips because millions of students have come before us and billions of students will come after us. So please comment and let me know your favorite study tips. I love collecting study tips and passing them on. So make sure to comment and let me know your favorite study tips. Otherwise, make sure you also like and subscribe for all things higher ed, business, mental health, and life. Otherwise, we'll chat next time. Bye for now.